Om Tabu Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shri Madatatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Vridayana. The nectar of thy words is the life for those who are scorched by the world. The words which have been uttered by no words of truth, which wipe out sins, the very hearing of which is beneficial, which are beautiful, pleasing to the ears, pleasing to the hearts, which are inexhaustible. Those who recount them on the earth are the givers of plenty. Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna recorded by Swami Brahmananda. Chapter Preaching of Religion. বজ্রবাটুলের বিচি গাছের তলায় পড়ে না, উড়ে গিয়ে দূরে পড়ে ও সেখানে গাছ হয়। সেই রকম ধর্মপ্রচারকদের ভাব দূরেতেই প্রকাশ হয় ও লোকে আদর করে। The seeds of the thistle down do not fall to the bottom of the tree. They are carried by the wind far off and take root there. So the spirit of a great religious teacher manifests itself at a distance and is appreciated there. As I was talking with in our previous class, you remember, when Jesus went to visit Nazareth, the villagers said, "Is he that carpenter's son?" Jesus was God's in human form. We call it avatar. His villagers could not recognize him, nor his devotees and devotees. Who recognized him? In Galilee, some fishermen. Most of the disciples of Christ are fishermen. They did not have much education, but they had purity of heart and faith. That is the way they recognize the divinity of Christ. Similarly, we find Buddha's cousin wanted to kill him out of jealousy. Sri Ramakrishna's relatives could not recognize him. Oh, he is our uncle. Oh, he is our relative. I wrote a long article on in how to live with God in the company of Ramakrishna, how to understand Ramakrishna, who understood him. I wrote, I think, 40, 50 pages I wrote. It is not easy to understand a divine being if you are not divine. Only a spiritual person understands a spiritual person. A lawyer understands a lawyer. A doctor understands a doctor better than other people. As Sri Ramakrishna said, only a jeweler knows the value of a jewel, neither the eggplant seller nor the cloth merchant. So if you are not highly spiritually evolved, you will not understand a divine being. Sometimes it happens, we see our friends, they're talking a subject, I'm completely unaware of it. So I just keep quiet. because I do not understand what they are talking about. Same thing happens in spiritual life. In Dakshineshwar, there are some cows tied with tether, with rope. They are eating grass so that those cows will not destroy the flower garden. But sometimes some stray cows from far off and they drink the Ganges water. But the cows, those who are on the shore of the Ganges, they are thirsty, but they cannot drink. Similarly, the message of a great teacher spreads far away. As we have a saying in our language, there is always a shadow below the oil lamp. Here is the oil lamp, the flame is there, below is always dark. So the local people do not understand the greatness of a great soul. Vajrabatul. I do not know, have you seen thistle down? Have you seen any of you? Vajrabatul, thistle, T-H-I-S-T-L-E. Thistle down, that is the dictionary I found. In our part of the country, we found sometimes some kind of cotton seeds. The cottons, they're blown away, the spring, especially in springtime. They blown away, far away, they blown away. And in that cotton, there is some seed and they grow in a far away, not under the tree. Thistle down, that is the dictionary, Vajrabatul, I do not know that word. I have not seen in this country that kind of thing. There are two kinds of cotton. One is I do not know. That cotton they put it inside the pillow. Cotton. And another cotton which makes the fiber, the cloth and all the things, That cotton will not make cloth or the yarn. So we have plenty of cotton plantation in the western part of India, especially Gujarat, Maharashtra, in that area. In our part of the country, we grew cotton, but not eastern part of India. But we have big mother gods that is blown away in summer side. He was talking about. That seed does not fall under the tree. It is blown away far off. And there is some, you will find some trees. Similarly, the great teachers, their message spread far, far away. Rabindranath Tagore was such a great poet. He was criticized. He was really a rishi. Such a creative mind. Poems, short stories, drama, novel. Even in the literature, whatever aspects of literature you mention, Rabindranath Tagore is there, and he is the top. But Indian people could not recognize him. But when his Gitanjali was translated into English in 1913, he got the Nobel Prize. When people went to pay homage to him, tears came from his eyes and says, now you have come to pay respect to me. All these years you are criticizing me. Now the Western people recognize me, so you people are now recognizing me. Came to respect me. Just see. when Swami Vivekananda, when he came famous in America, then Indian people recognized him. Otherwise, they say, "Oh, he's a mendicant. He's a monk, a roaming monk." People could not recognize him. I'm just telling you that how the things are. Sri Ramakrishna Swamiji said, Buddhism spread 250 years after Buddha's passing away, during the time of Emperor Ashoka. Buddha's message spread. Christianity spread in 597 AD, when Gregory was the Pope. It went to England, St. Augustine. When the king, queen accepted Christianity, spread. 597 years after. Swami Vivekananda said, Sri Ramakrishna's message spread within 7 years after his passing away. Ramakrishna died in 1886. His message, universal religion, harmony of religion, the great message of Sri Ramakrishna, came to America in 1893. লণ্ঠনের নিচে অন্ধকার থাকে, দূরে আলো পড়ে, সেই রকম সাধু মহাপুরুষদের নিকট লোকেরা বুঝতে পারে না, নিকটের লোকেরা বুঝতে পারে না, দূরের লোকেরা তাদের ভাবে মুগ্ধ হয়। There is always a shadow under the lamp, while its light illumines the distant objects. So the men in the immediate proximity of a holy prophet do not understand him. Those who live far off are charmed by his spirit. Sometimes, you know how we watch Ramachandra was an incarnation of God. We see his movement. He preached the truth. Ajodhya, then some parts of UP, then Chitrakoot, Madhya Pradesh, Dandakaranya, then went to Tamil Nadu, then straight to Rameshwaram, and Sri Lanka. Only this part of India is one small section we see Ramachandra and his movement and his message spread. Krishna, we find Gokula, Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, Delhi, Kurukshetra, Hastinapur. Just a small area we see Krishna's movement. And Jesus, we see the Sea of Galilee, only 4-5 Jewish states around the Red Sea. We find Mediterranean Sea. We see the movement of Jesus. Just a short area. Few Jewish states. That is the movement of Jesus. Buddha, Kapilavastu, his birthplace, a few places in Nepal, then in Patna, Magad, just a few places in the central part of India, we see Buddha's movement and his preaching. I wrote an article, the magnitude of Ramakrishna's life and message. There I mentioned that how Ramakrishna, how his message traveled. His also movement, that's Bihar, UP, Vrindavan, Kashi. It's just few holy places he traveled, but his message spread. Who did the first preaching about Ramakrishna? Brahmas. They had magazines. They have weekly, daily, monthly magazines. So when Keshav Chandra Sen was overwhelmed seeing Ramakrishna Samadhi, how is it possible? The man can merge into God and come back. Complete oblivion about the external world. How is it possible? So he was overwhelmed. So he started to write about Sri Ramakrishna from 1875. Amazing. There is a beautiful couplet of Tulsidas. Rama Nama Muni Deepa Dehuli Dar. He was talking about a oil lamp. If you keep it on the threshold, it illumines the inside room, outside, both. So he was talking on the tongue. If you repeat God's name, then your inside will be illumined, outside will be illumined. Chant God's name on your tongue. That is just like a lamp. It will illumine inside, outside. Lantern. I think it's a Sufi story, I don't remember. Anyhow, a man was searching something on the street, under the street light. So somebody was asking that, what are you searching? Oh, I lost my key. Why did you lose your key? In my home. Then what are you searching here on the street? Because there is no light in my house. The light is on the street. That is our problem, you see. God is within, but we are not seeing there. We are searching outside in the temples, in the churches, in various places. But while there is light, there we search. I dropped my key at house, but I am searching on the street. That is happening to all of us. We are searching somewhere outside. There is a famous poem of Tagore. বহুদিন ধরে বহু দেশ ঘুরে বহু ব্যয় করি বহু ক্লেশ করে দেখিতে গিয়েছি পর্বতমালা দেখিতে গিয়েছি সিন্ধু দেখা হয় নাই চক্ষু মেলিয়া ঘরতে শুধু দুপা পেলিয়া একটি ধানের শীষের উপরে একটি শীষের বিন্দু. Spending money, spending a lot of time. I visited many holy places, and the mountain and the ocean. But he never came out from my room and see the paddy field. There is a paddy leaf, there is a dewdrop, and in that dewdrop the infinite blue sky reflects. That I have never seen. But I have spent money and visited so many holy places. There is a deep meaning in this word, in this poem of Tagore. That you see, we go to pilgrimage here and there, but we do not see that God is within us. I remember I was working for the poems of Swami Vivekananda. Previously, the name of the book was Poems. It was not selling. So I told the president, Maharaj, shall I change the name? Well, what will you do? In Search of God and Other Poems. And that book started to sell. In Search of God and Other Poems. That is the title. I put it in that book. The first poem was In Search of God. That Swamiji was writing a letter to Hell Sisters, that in search of God, how I travel. It's a very beautiful, in a letter, he wrote that poem. Letter come poem. So I put In Search of God, then other poems. দূরের লোকেরা তাদের ভাবে মুগ্ধ হয়। Sometimes it happens. In America, we build so many cars, but we like a German car, you see, or a Japanese car. I heard many people, well, Swami, German people make very good cars. You know, they are BMW and Mercedes, all this. We love to buy German cars. Are America Ford is making so many cars? They are cheap. We like expensive or expensive cars in European cars. Similarly, we had an idea. Anything comes from England is the best. In our country, there are so many beautiful things that there. No, it is made in England. Now it is everything made of China, made in China. আপনাকে মারতে হলে একটি নরুন দিয়ে হয়, কিন্তু অপরকে মারতে গেলে ঢাল তরবারের দরকার হয়। তেমনি লোকশিক্ষা দিতে হলে অনেক শাস্ত্র পড়তে হয় ও অনেক তর্কযুক্তি করে বোঝাতে হয়, কিন্তু আপনাকে ধর্মলাভ কেবল এক কথায় বিশ্বাস করলেই হয়। বিউটিফুল। To kill another, swords and shields are needed, whilst to kill oneself, even a pin will do. So to teach others, one must study many sacred books and use many an argument, whilst for self-illumination, firm faith in a single formula will suffice. That pin is not a good translation. Norun means a nail cutter. Not American, not a clipper nail cutter. There is one piece of iron, you know, that and there, very sharp. This much the sharpness, and then it comes here and then like this. So they cut nail like this. I did not see in this country that kind of nail cutter. You are the chip. That is, I cut my nail with open blade. So some people are scared of that. I'm accustomed from my boyhood. This is the way I cut my nail. But now I do use clipper. Anyhow. So Sri Ramakrishna says, even a nail cutter, you can cut your throat and kill yourself. But if you want to kill others, you need sword. You need various kinds of arms and shield to protect yourself. So if you really want to be a preacher, you should develop your intellect. You will have to memorize the scriptures. You will have to argue with your opponents and defeat them. In Baranagar Mott, some disciples are studying scriptures, studying Eastern and Western philosophies. So Latu Maharaj, he was an illiterate disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, but not a Brahman. He said, hey Sharat, you boys finished school, college, and now have come to the monastery. Are you going to give some more examination? Sharat Maharaj said, no brother, you see, we will have to study these things to understand religion, philosophy. I have never seen Master Sri Ramakrishna read anything. Oh, Sri Ramakrishna was a different case. You see, we'll have to study Eastern, Western philosophy, different religions. Then he was asking them, what is this? Master did not care for book learning. Well, his case is different. Then Raju Maharaj said, well, perhaps these boys also understand differently. My path is different. Sri Ramakrishna wants to demonstrate that one of his disciples, zero education, but not a Brahman. That is demonstrated to Raju Maharaj. No education. All judges, great scholars would go to him to listen, his realization. Swamiji raised quite a bit East and Western thoughts. You know, I sometimes think about Swamiji's study and our study. Once he reads, he does not forget. And he has tremendous grasping power and deep penetration. Sometimes he used to say, reading, you people read each word, he does not. He reads first line and last line of the paragraph, he knows what is inside. Sometimes you see, I can see 4 or 5 pages, what is there, by reading just 1 or 2 sentences in the beginning. I know this man's thoughts, how it will work, how he is going to conclude his ideas. It is tremendous power. Sometimes in the beginning of the book and the end of the book, he can tell you what is there inside. At that time in Belur Math, they brought the Encyclopedia Britannica, 24 volumes. So the disciple was telling, is it possible for a man to read all these volumes in whole life? Swamiji said, what do you mean? I already finished 10 or 12 volumes. You can ask any question from those volumes, I shall tell you. Sir, you see, it is not possible for human beings. Tremendous power. No, let us see what Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel. 179. Hmm? 290, 180. Here it is. What is there is in mere scholarship. God can be attained by crying to Him with a longing heart. There is no need to know many things. He who is an acharya, acharya means teacher, has to know different things. One needs a sword and shield to kill others, but to kill oneself, a needle or a nail knife suffices. One ultimately discovers God by trying to know who this I is. Is this I the flesh, the bones, the blood, or the marrow? Is it the mind or the buddhi? Analyzing thus, you realize at last that you are none of this. This is called the process of neti neti, not this, not this. One can neither comprehend nor touch the Atman. It is without qualities or attributes. 292. Let us see what Sri Ramakrishna said. These are the thing which I am reading. It is from the Gospel of Ramakrishna. Don't mix intimacy. A nail knife suffices to kill oneself. One needs sword and shield to kill others. That is the purpose of the scriptures. One does not really need to study the different scriptures. If one has no discrimination, one does not achieve anything through mere scholarship. Even though one studies all the 6 systems of philosophy, call on God, crying to Him secretly in solitude, He will give all that you need. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to Ishan Mukhopadhyay. He built a huge shrine for practicing his spiritual discipline, Purusharan. Purusharan means he will repeat perhaps 20,000 mantras a day, then 19,000, then 10,000. So 1, 2, 3, in this way 1,000, 2,000, they will start, go to 20,000 and then back 19,000, 18,000 in this way. In this way they go Purusharana, repeating God's name, spending hours in the shrine. So he built a huge shrine on the bank of the Ganges. Sri Ramakrishna heard about it and he cautioned him, don't beat drum too much. Spiritual disciplines should be practiced secretly, in solitude. It is not for advertisement. So it is there in the gospel. Sometimes we find faith. Chaitanya met a devotee in South India. He was reading the Gita upside down. But do you read it? But I am illiterate, I do not know. But I know the Gita Krishna taught Arjuna. So I see, when I open the book, I see Krishna and Arjuna. I do not see the book. The teaching I see while Krishna is talking to Arjuna, that I see when I open the book. But I do not see the book. Amazing. Bhavagrahi Janardana. A God sees only the heart, your feelings, not your intellect. That's how you can beautifully, how you can give a lecture, how you can quote from different authors and writers and mesmerize and charm people. Some people think, people think, I am a very learned man, quoting Einstein and these scientists and the big philosophers, and I can charm people. Magbaikuri Shabduyuri Shastra Vakhanam. Actually, Shankaracharya mentioned in Viveka Chudamani Klesh Jewel of Discrimination. All these things are all gymnastics, intellectual gymnastics. It will not help to realize God. বিশ্বাস। উদ্দেশ্যে লোকে যখন ধান মাপে, একজন মাপতে থাকে, আরেকজন পিছনে দাঁড়িয়ে থাকে। যেই কোম্পারে আসে, পিছনে যে গাদা করা থাকে তা থেকে ঠেলে দিয়ে তার সামনে জুগিয়ে দেয়। তেমনি যারা ঠিক সাধু ভক্ত, ঈশ্বরীয় কথা বলা ফুরাতে না ফুরাতে তাদের ভিতর থেকে ভাব জুগিয়ে আসে, তাদের ভাব আর ফুরোয় না। বিউটিফুল, বিউটিফুল। In that part of the country, means Kamarpukur, his birthplace, where I was born, you may often find people measuring grain, rice, paddy, lying in a heap. One man goes on measuring, another stands behind and pushes the grains on to the first. As soon as he has nearly finished measuring the portion of the heap that is within his reach, much in the same way, the true devotee never lacks his supply of truth. He receives a constant supply of new ideas from within. That supply is never used up. For 65 to 66. Let us see what's M recorded. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to a Pandit named Shashada Tarko Chudamani. He's a great scholar, evangelist. Looking at the Pandit, Ramakrishna said, "My child, add a little more to your strength. Practice spiritual discipline a few days more. You have hardly set your foot on the tree, yet you expect to lay hold of a big cluster of fruit. But of course, you are doing all this for the welfare of others." With these words, he bowed his head before the Pandit. The master continued, "When I first heard about you, I inquired whether you were merely erudite or whether you had discrimination and renunciation. A Pandit who does not know how to discriminate between the real and the unreal is no Pandit at all. There is no harm in teaching others if the preacher has a commission from the Lord. Nobody can confound a preacher who teaches people after having received the command of God. Getting a ray of light from the goddess of learning, a man becomes so powerful that before him big scholars seem mere earthworms. When the lamp is lighted, the moths come in swarms. They don't have to be invited. In the same way, the preacher who has a commission from God need not invite people to hear him. He does not have to announce the time of his lectures. He possesses such irresistible attraction that people come to him of their own accord. People of all classes, even kings and aristocrats, gather around him. They say to him, 'Revered sir, what can we offer you? Here are mangoes, sweets, money, shawls, and other things. What will you be pleased to accept?' In that case, I say to you, 'Go away. I don't care for this. I don't want anything.' Does the magnet say to the iron, 'Come near me'? That is not necessary, because the attraction of the magnet, the iron, rushes to it. Such a preacher may not be a scholarly person, but don't conclude from that he has any lack of wisdom. Does book learning make one wise? He who has commission from God never runs short of wisdom. That wisdom comes from God. It is inexhaustible. At Kamarpukur, I have seen people measuring grain. It lies in a heap. One man keeps pushing grain from the heap toward another man who weighs it on a scale. So the man who weighs does not run short of grain. It is the same with the preacher who has received a commission from God. As he teaches people, the Divine Mother herself supplies him with fresh knowledge from behind. That knowledge never comes to an end. Can a preacher ever lack knowledge? If but one he is favored with a benign glance from the Divine Mother? Therefore I ask you, whether you have received any commission from God. Hazara. Oh yes, he must have it. To the Pandit. Isn't it true, sir? Pandit. Commission? No, sir. I am afraid. I have not received any such thing. Host. He may not have received the commission, but he preaches from a sense of duty. Master. What will a man accomplish by mere lectures without the commission from God? Once a Brahma preacher said in the course of his sermon, "Friends, how much I used to drink," and so on. Hearing this, the people began to whisper among themselves, "What is the fool saying? He used to drink." Now these words produced a very unfavorable effect. This shows that preaching cannot bring a good result unless it comes from a good man. So I say, a worthless man may talk his head of preaching, and yet he will produce no effect. But people will listen to him if he is armed with a badge of authority from God. One cannot teach others without the commission from God. A teacher of men must have great power. There are many, anyhow, he went on. That is the reason. Toward the end of Sri Ramakrishna's life, he wrote on a piece of paper, নরেন লোক শিক্ষে দিবে, যখন ঘরে বাইরে হাঁক দিবে, নরেন will teach people when you will go and talk in the country and abroad. Look, he was just few months before he was passing away, he was suffering from cancer, but he wrote by his own hand and saved that paper. And I reproduce that writing here in this book, Ramakrishna's Divine Play. Sri Ramakrishna's own handwriting. Naren will teach people. He got commission from Sri Ramakrishna. You know, preaching is not so easy. It is the life, it is the character. That is the most important thing in preaching. Not the television or paying with the ad in the television. Preaching is sometimes very difficult. The thing you are preaching, you know that I am not practicing it, it will not work. Acharya, achinoti, the person who, what you practice, that you preach. There we will find some will be disqualified. They do not practice. But I want to preach. Some people preach, that is their vocation. We go to the university, we know those professors are brilliant professors, good speakers, better than so-called illumined souls. But there is a gulf of difference. They preach from their intellect, head, and these people preach from their experience. There is a gulf of difference. As I was telling, the note 465, 66. Let us say 490, 91. Immediately. A Brahmo asked Sri Ramakrishna, Sir, have you read the Panchadoshi? Master, at first one should hear books like that and indulge in reasoning, but later on, cherished my precious mother Shama, tenderly within, O mind, may you and I alone behold her, letting no one else intrude. One should hear the scriptures during the early stages of spiritual discipline. After attaining God, There is no lack of knowledge. Then the Divine Mother supplies it without fail. A child spells out every word as he writes, but later on he writes fluently. The goldsmith is up and doing while melting gold as long as the gold has not melted. He works the bellows with one hand, moves the fan with the other, and blows through a pipe with his mouth. But the moment the gold melts and is poured into the mold, he is relieved of all anxiety. Mere reading of the scriptures is not enough. A person cannot understand the true significance of the scriptures if he is attached to the world. Keshav enjoys the world and practices yoga as well, living in the world. He directs his mind to God. A devotee described the convocation of Calcutta University, saying that at the meeting looked like a forest of human heads. Master, the feeling of divine is awakened in me when I see a great crowd of people. Had I seen that meeting, I should have been overwhelmed with spiritual fervor. When Swami Vivekananda was in America, he was constantly speaking. Sometimes 14, 15 lectures a week. What happened? Sometimes he would get tired, exhausted. Sometimes he would think that I am out of ideas. Then at night time, when in Chicago, when he was in bed, the people of the other rooms overheard that Swamiji was talking with somebody. It was Sri Ramakrishna which appeared before him and will give him ideas that he will have to, what he will speak next day. Lot of new thoughts, new ideas. When we read Swami Vivekananda's lectures and classes, we find that so much original thoughts are there in those books. God supplies. That is the reason we get inspiration from their words. I remember in Hollywood in 1975, Christopher Isherwood and myself, we used to speak alternately Hollywood and Santa Barbara. I used to speak Hollywood, Chris used to speak in Santa Barbara, then he would Hollywood, I would go to Santa Barbara. Swami Prabhupada was not well. So what happened, I asked Isherwood, you please give lectures. Please Swami, he gave a couple of lectures, one on Vivekananda, one on Girish Chandra Ghosh. Then he said, Swami, I like to read Swami Vivekananda's works. I know that would be fine. But his reading was something unusual. What he would do, he will take a lecture and he will read some portions and highlights and then he will make some comments. Very beautiful, very beautiful. I remember, Chris, could you give a lecture on Is Vedanta the Future Religion of the World? Which is in Complete Words, Volume 8. My goodness, the way he summed up. Amazing. And people would flock to hear him. He was a very famous writer, you know. So he says that when I asked him to write a foreword of Vedanta Voice of Freedom, there he mentioned, he himself told me, Swami, in my room when I read aloud Vivekananda, I feel his presence and I feel the power behind his words. But you will have to read loudly, not without, you will not read only the eyes. If you read loud, you will see the power behind his words. That he mentioned in that introduction. Sri Ram, a famous writer wrote it, বিবেকানন্দের কথার পিছনে ব্যথা, ব্যথার পিছনে তার অভিজ্ঞতা, অভিজ্ঞতার পিছনে তার গুরুর আশীর্বাদ. Behind his words, his feelings. When he speaks from his feelings, from his experience, from his conviction. It is true. I experienced it. Then, finally, behind his words, Sri Ramakrishna's grace and blessing. That is the reason Swamiji's words are very powerful, extremely powerful. Look, now Swamiji's complete works, 9 volumes. His lives in 2 big volumes. Then Nivedita wrote, the Master as I saw him, Notes of Samjani with Himalayas. Then Mary Louise Burke wrote 6 volumes, Vivekananda in the West, New Discoveries. Shankari Prasad Bosu wrote 7 volumes, Vivekananda and Contemporary India. Swamiji's brother wrote 7 or 8 volumes about Swamiji. Then there are so many other books connected with Swamiji. How long did he live? 39 years. How many years did he work? 7 or 8 years. And about him, all these huge volumes of books, still people are writing about him. I wrote an article, Vivekananda, a great wonder, a Mahavishya. That person's so short span of life, but his contribution, as he says, it will continue 1500 years. Really, it is amazing. He got commission from God, from Sri Ramakrishna. We had a Swami, mother's disciple, Swami Vishuddhananda. He read this book, Gospel of Ramakrishna, 50 times. 50 times he read this book in Bengali, 5 volumes. He told his experience. Every time I read, I find something new. Every time we read, as I was talking, that how they measure the rice, the grain in the village. Swami Nikhilananda did not translate that part, Suppose the person who is measuring the paddy or grain containing, it is a cane basket. They fill it up and they know exactly how much weight. The weight is, that measuring place will tell you the weight. So that way they measure and from the back somebody pushes the grain, the heaps of grain from there. At that time he counts. Rame Ram, Due Due, Ake Rame Ram, Due Due, Rame Ram, Tine Tin, Am Rame Ram. He chants God's name and the number. Rame Ram, Lord Rama's name, he repeats, so that the number, when the supply comes, so he is chanting God's name. And when he drops it, at that time he puts the number. In between, he is repeating God's name. How wonderful. These people are illiterate people, no education, farmers. How they sell their grains, measuring with the basket. Sri Ramakrishna saw in his village that he used in his teachings. That as we see in the village, these people, the farmers pushes grain and how they sell it in the market. Same thing. If you are really inspired, God will supply all new ideas, new thoughts. Most people, we memorize, we give lecture and this, that. It happened. Sri Ramakrishna one day planned. He went to a studio. On his way to Rajendranath Mitra's house, sitting in the horse carriage, he was planning. Today when Keshav will come, I shall speak this, I shall speak that. He was planning. Do you know what happened? He was in terrible dizziness. He had terrible dizziness. He was about to fall from the car. Because he was planning. I shall tell these things. Then he was thinking, what is the matter? Why do I have this dizziness? Then he thought, oh, I planned that I shall speak. Mother, not I, thou, you speak. Mother, you speak. Mother, you speak, not I. You speak, you speak. In this way, he got rid of his dizziness. So when you have dizziness, think that way. Mother, you speak. This is your body. I am just an instrument. All right, up to this tonight. So I want to record that one. What will you do? Can you separate this thing from this?
Yes.
Or you make another entry?
Yeah, we will separate, yeah.
Make it another entry.